The tragic death of Scott Fischer on Everest. Scott Fischer was a legendary mountaineer who had made his name by leading successful expeditions to the summit of some of the world's highest peaks. However, in 1996, his luck ran out when he attempted to climb Mount Everest. Fischer had been leading an expedition to Everest, which included a number of experienced climbers as well as some novices. Among the novices was Jon Krakauer, a journalist who was writing a story about the expedition for Outside magazine. Krakauer later wrote a book about his experience, Into Thin Air, which became a bestseller. The expedition started out well, with the climbers making steady progress up the mountain. However, as they approached the summit, the weather began to deteriorate. A fierce storm blew in, bringing very high winds and heavy snow. Despite the worsening conditions, Fischer and the other climbers pressed on, determined to reach the summit. They knew that the longer they stayed on the mountain, the more dangerous it would become, and they wanted to reach the top and get back down as quickly as possible. However, as they climbed higher, the storm grew more intense. Fischer and his team were soon struggling to stay on their feet, buffeted by winds that threatened to knock them off the mountain. Visibility was reduced back to just a few feet, and the climbers were soon separated from each other. Krakauer was one of the lucky ones. He'd managed to make it back to camp safely, not before witnessing the tragedy that was unfolding around him. Fischer and several other climbers had become disoriented in the storm and were lost on the mountain. Fischer's fate was particularly tragic. He'd been leading the expedition and was determined to reach the summit at any cost. Despite his experience and his knowledge of the mountain, he became disoriented in the storm and had lost his way. Krakauer later wrote that he had seen Fischer near the summit, but that he had been in very bad shape. He was coughing and struggling to breathe, and it was clear he was suffering from the effects of altitude sickness. Krakauer urged Fischer to turn back, but the mountaineer was determined to press on. Fischer's decision to continue climbing would prove to be fatal. As the storm raged on, he became separated from his team and was soon completely lost on the mountain. Despite frantic efforts to locate him, he was never found alive. Fischer's death was a tragedy, and it shook the mountaineering world to its core. Many people were left wondering how such an experienced climber could have made such a fatal mistake. Some blamed the commercialization of mountaineering, which had led to inexperienced climbers attempting to climb Everest. Others pointed to fierce competition that existed amongst the various expeditions, which had led to some to disregard safety. Whatever the cause, Fischer's death was a wake-up call for the mountaineering community. It reminded everyone that even the most experienced climber was not invincible, and that the dangers of the mountain were very real. In the years since Fischer's death, many changes have been made to the way that expeditions are run on Everest. Safety protocols have been put in place. Climbers are now required to have a certain level of experience before attempting to climb the mountain. However, the dangers of Everest are still very real, and tragedies continue to occur. Scott Fischer will always be remembered as a mountaineering legend who pushed the boundaries of what was possible on the world's highest peaks. His death was a tragic reminder of the dangers of the mountain and a testament to the risk that all climbers must take when they venture onto the world's most challenging environments. The tragic death of Scott Fischer on Mount Everest serves as a stark reminder of the dangers that can come with mountaineering. Even the most experienced climbers can fall victim to the unforgiving conditions on the world's highest peaks. However, the legacy of Scott Fischer lives on as a testament to the courage and the determination of mountaineers who continue to push the boundaries of what is possible. We'd love to read your comments on Mount Everest and climbers and climbing teams that attempt to scale it. If you like this video, please give it a like, share it with your friends, and if you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and hit the bell icon so that you will always get the very latest from us first.